don't belong here." The words cut through the luxurious VIP lounge like a knife. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. Alicia Brooks slowly lowered her phone and looked at the woman standing in front of her. Heather Blake, the regional director of the store, stood with her arms crossed and a cold smile on her face. Around them, shoppers dressed in designer clothes watched with growing curiosity. Some already had their phones raised, recording. Alicia remained seated, calm, silent, unmoved. "This lounge is reserved for verified VIP members," Heather continued, loudly enough for everyone to hear. "And I know every VIP member who comes through this store." A few people chuckled. Others exchanged looks. One man whispered, "She's definitely in the wrong place." Within moments, a live stream appeared online. Thousands began watching. The camera focused on Alicia's face, waiting for her reaction. But she gave none. She simply looked at Heather and asked one question. "Did you scan my access pass?" Heather's smile widened. "I don't need to." The crowd laughed. Alicia slowly stood up, and at that exact moment, the countdown clock for the investor reception displayed 10 minutes remaining. Just 3 hours earlier, Alicia's day had looked completely ordinary. Chicago's skyline reflected in the glass windows of her downtown office as she finished reviewing quarterly reports. At 36 years old, Alicia Brooks had built a reputation for remaining calm under pressure. Her colleagues admired her ability to stay focused when others panicked. Few people outside her professional circle knew how much influence she actually possessed. That was intentional. She preferred results over recognition. That afternoon, she received a message reminding her about an investor reception being held at one of the nation's largest luxury retail chains. Her investment group maintained significant interests in several corporations, including this company. Alicia planned to attend quietly, listen to presentations, and return home before dinner. She dressed simply, a camel coat, emerald blouse, black trousers. Nothing flashy, nothing designed to attract attention. On the drive to the store, she called her mother, Lorraine Brooks. The two spoke briefly. "Long day?" Lorraine asked. Alicia laughed softly. "Hopefully not." Neither woman knew those would become ironic words. By the time Alicia arrived at the flagship location, employees were preparing for one of the most important investor events of the year. Everything appeared normal, at least at first. The trouble started the moment Alicia approached the VIP lounge entrance. A young receptionist greeted several guests ahead of her with bright smiles. Their passes were scanned immediately. When Alicia stepped forward and presented her digital credential, the receptionist hesitated. Her smile disappeared. She stared at the screen longer than necessary. "One moment, please," she said. Alicia noticed the change instantly. Within a minute, Heather Blake arrived. Her heels clicked sharply against the marble floor as she approached. She looked Alicia up and down before speaking. "May I see that pass?" Alicia handed over her phone. Heather barely glanced at it. "Where did you get this?" she asked. "It was issued by the company," Alicia replied. Heather's expression hardened. "Interesting." Several nearby shoppers slowed down to watch. "Is there a problem?" Alicia asked. Heather folded her arms. "These credentials aren't transferable." Alicia blinked. "I know." "Then perhaps you borrowed it." The accusation landed heavily. A woman nearby gasped. Another customer started recording. Alicia felt dozens of eyes on her. Still, she kept her composure. "Please scan the pass," she said. Heather shook her head. "I know our members." What could have ended in 30 seconds became something much larger. Heather called security. The first guard arrived within minutes. Then a second. More people gathered. The live stream grew. Comments flooded social media. Some viewers defended Alicia. Others immediately assumed she had done something wrong. Heather seemed energized by the attention. "We're trying to handle this professionally," she announced loudly. Alicia noticed how carefully the statement was crafted. It sounded reasonable. It sounded fair. Yet no one had verified her pass. No one had checked her identity. The assumption had already become reality in people's minds. The crowd accepted Heather's version of events because she wore authority like armor. A man holding a shopping bag muttered, "If she belonged here, none of this would be happening." Alicia looked around the room. No one challenged him. The investor countdown clock now showed 6 minutes remaining. Heather stepped closer. "I'm giving you one last opportunity to leave voluntarily." Alicia met her eyes. "And I'm giving you one last opportunity to scan my pass." The surrounding crowd fell silent. Neither woman moved. The tension inside the lounge became almost unbearable. Then Alicia made a phone call. She stepped slightly away from the crowd and dialed a number she knew by heart. Lorraine answered immediately. "Everything all right?" Alicia glanced at Heather, who was watching with amusement. "Not exactly," Alicia replied. She calmly explained the situation. Lorraine listened without interrupting. When Alicia finished, there was a brief pause. "Stay where you are," Lorraine finally said. "That's it?" Alicia asked softly. "That's it." The call ended. Heather smirked. "Calling someone to rescue you?" Several people laughed. One woman actually rolled her eyes. Alicia returned her phone to her bag. She did not explain who she had called. She did not defend herself. The live stream audience interpreted her silence as weakness. Online comments became increasingly cruel. Yet beneath the surface, events were already moving in directions none of them could see. Across the city, Lorraine Brooks closed her office folder, stood up, and left immediately. Meanwhile, inside the store, the investor reception was about to begin. Important guests started arriving. Expensive cars lined the entrance. Executives entered the building. And one of them was about to recognize a face he never expected to see, standing beside security guards. The first sign of trouble for Heather came from an older man wearing a tailored navy suit. He walked toward the VIP lounge, stopped suddenly, and stared at Alicia. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then his expression changed completely. "Miss Brooks?" he asked. The room froze. Alicia nodded politely. "Good afternoon, David." The man looked confused, then alarmed. What exactly is happening here? Heather immediately stepped forward. "Sir, we're handling a membership issue." David looked from Heather to Alicia and back again. "A membership issue?" he repeated. His voice contained disbelief. The crowd sensed the shift instantly. Heather's confidence began to crack. "This individual attempted to enter a restricted area," she explained. David's eyes widened. "This individual?" he said. "Do you have any idea who you're speaking to?" A ripple moved through the crowd. Phones remained raised. Livestream viewers flooded the comment section with question marks. Heather hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty appeared on her face. But instead of backing down, she doubled down. "Whoever she is, policies apply to everyone." David slowly removed his glasses. "You may want to reconsider that statement." By now, nearly everyone in the lounge sensed that something had gone terribly wrong. Yet the full truth remained hidden. David quietly informed several arriving executives that Alicia Brooks was present. Their reactions mirrored his own. Respect, surprise, concern. Heather noticed the growing unease and made a decision. She contacted corporate headquarters. If local leadership wouldn't support her, someone higher would. Minutes later, she reached Executive Vice President Richard Vaughn through a secure conference connection. Richard listened carefully as Heather described the situation. To her relief, he appeared supportive. "If policies were violated, stand your ground," he said. Heather visibly relaxed. The crowd interpreted Richard's involvement as confirmation that she had been right all along. Alicia remained silent. David watched nervously. He understood more than most people in the room, but even he did not know the full picture. Richard agreed to join the situation remotely. Large monitors inside the conference area activated. Executives gathered around. Heather believed reinforcements had arrived. What she didn't realize was that every additional layer of authority she introduced would eventually work against her. The countdown clock reached 0. The investor reception officially began, and the most important revelation had yet to appear. The conference screens flickered to life. Richard Vaughn appeared from corporate headquarters hundreds of miles away. His expression was calm, confident, and slightly irritated. "Let's resolve this quickly," he said. Heather explained everything once more. Richard nodded throughout her presentation. Then he looked directly at Alicia. "Ma'am, misunderstandings happen. If there has been confusion regarding access credentials, we can address it privately." Alicia studied him for a moment. "Privately?" she asked. "Yes," Richard smiled professionally. "There's no need to create a scene." The irony was impossible to ignore. Thousands were already watching online. Dozens stood around them filming. Yet now they wanted privacy. Alicia slowly placed her brown leather tote bag on the conference table. She opened it and removed a thick folder. David immediately recognized it. His face turned pale. Several executives leaned forward. Heather frowned. Richard's smile weakened. Alicia placed the folder on the table, but did not open it yet. Instead, she folded her hands calmly. "Before we continue," she said, "I think everyone deserves to understand exactly what kind of misunderstanding we're discussing." The room fell silent. Heather swallowed hard. And as Alicia's fingers moved toward the folder, everything was about to change forever. Every eye in the room remained fixed on the folder resting in front of Alicia Brooks. The silence felt heavier than any argument that had taken place that afternoon. Heather Blake stood frozen beside the conference table, trying to maintain control of a situation that was slipping through her fingers. On the large screen, Richard Vaughn adjusted his tie and forced a confident smile. "Let's not overcomplicate this," he said. Alicia finally opened the folder. The sound of paper sliding across polished wood seemed impossibly loud. Inside were ownership reports, board documents, voting agreements, and investment disclosures. David immediately looked away as if he already knew what was coming. Several executives leaned closer. Richard's expression hardened. Alicia calmly pushed one document toward the camera. "Since we're discussing authorization," she said, "perhaps we should begin with ownership." Heather frowned. She did not understand. Richard did. His face lost color. Alicia continued. "My investment group currently holds 38% of this company." The room stopped breathing. One employee dropped a phone. A shopper gasped loudly. Heather stared at the document, unable to process the numbers in front of her. 38%. Not a customer. Not a guest. Not even a typical investor. Someone whose influence reached directly into the foundation of the company itself. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then the live stream exploded. Comments flooded across screens faster than anyone could read them. The same viewers who had mocked Alicia moments earlier were now desperately trying to understand how everything had changed so quickly. Heather looked toward Richard, expecting him to challenge the claim. Instead, he remained silent. That silence spoke louder than any denial could have. Alicia calmly turned another page. "Our firm controls 4 board seats," she explained. "We participated in the last governance review and approved the current compliance framework." The executives around the table exchanged nervous glances. Heather felt the room turning against her. "Why didn't you tell us?" she asked. Alicia looked directly at her. Would it have mattered? Heather opened her mouth but found no answer. Everyone knew the truth. If Alicia had announced her position immediately, she would have been treated differently from the moment she arrived. The entire confrontation had exposed something deeper than a mistaken identity. It had revealed assumptions, judgments, biases people rarely admitted aloud. Richard finally cleared his throat. "Let's focus on finding a constructive solution." The sudden change in tone did not go unnoticed. Minutes earlier, he had supported Heather. Now he wanted cooperation. But the story was far from over. Just when many believed the confrontation had reached its peak, another unexpected development arrived. The elevator doors opened at the far end of the executive floor. Several executives immediately turned toward the sound. A woman stepped out with calm authority. She did not rush, she did not speak, yet the atmosphere shifted the moment she entered the room. Lorraine Brooks walked forward with measured confidence. Her silver-white hair framed a face that radiated intelligence and experience. Alicia stood and smiled softly. "Mom." Heather blinked in confusion. To her, this was simply the woman Alicia had called earlier, but the executives recognized her instantly. One board member actually straightened his posture. Another quietly whispered her name. Richard's expression changed completely. Lorraine Brooks was not merely Alicia's mother. She was a former federal judge whose opinions carried enormous weight in legal and corporate circles. For decades, she had helped shape policies involving workplace discrimination, consumer protection, and corporate accountability. Lorraine approached the table and glanced at the documents. "I see we've made progress," she said calmly. Nobody laughed this time. Nobody smirked. Nobody rolled their eyes. The same crowd that had mocked Alicia's phone call now watched Lorraine with a mixture of respect and fear. Heather's confidence finally began to collapse. "I didn't know," she said quietly. Lorraine looked at her. That's precisely the problem. The statement landed harder than any insult could have. Heather tried again. "I was following procedure." Lorraine nodded slightly. "Show me the procedure requiring assumptions before verification." No answer came. The room remained silent. Alicia sat back and allowed the conversation to unfold. She understood something important. This was no longer about personal humiliation. It had become a case study in institutional behavior. Every choice made throughout the afternoon was now being examined under a brighter light. Richard attempted to regain control. "Let's avoid turning this into something larger than it needs to be." Lorraine turned toward the screen. "Larger?" she repeated. "A customer with valid credentials was denied access without verification. Security was called. Public accusations were made. Thousands witnessed it. How much larger would you prefer?" Richard said nothing. The live stream audience continued growing. Journalists had already begun contacting corporate communications. What started as a single confrontation inside a VIP lounge was becoming a public relations crisis, and every minute increased the potential consequences for everyone involved. Corporate leadership moved quickly once they realized the scale of the problem. Emergency meetings were scheduled that same evening. Compliance officers joined conference calls. Human resources representatives reviewed video footage. Security reports were collected. Most damaging of all, the live stream remained available online. Every statement, every assumption, every decision had been recorded. Heather watched helplessly as the evidence accumulated. She had entered the day believing authority would protect her. Instead, that authority had become evidence against her. Alicia never demanded revenge. She never raised her voice. She simply insisted that facts be examined honestly. By midnight, preliminary findings had already emerged. Multiple policies had been ignored. Verification procedures had not been followed. Escalation protocols had been misused. Most importantly, no legitimate reason existed for denying Alicia access in the first place. The following morning, the board convened an emergency session. Executives debated strategy for hours. Investors demanded accountability. Legal advisors warned of significant risks. Public trust was now at stake. The company faced a decision: protect individuals or protect principles. For the first time, leadership chose the latter, and that decision would trigger consequences reaching far beyond a single store location. Within weeks, major changes began taking shape across the organization. Heather Blake was terminated following the investigation. Several managers who supported the misconduct received disciplinary action and mandatory retraining. Richard Vaughn resigned after internal reviews revealed broader concerns regarding leadership judgment and compliance oversight. But the most significant outcome was not punishment. It was reform. Alicia worked directly with governance teams to create new accountability systems. Every store received updated verification procedures. Independent complaint reviews were introduced. Employees gained access to anonymous reporting tools. Bias awareness training became mandatory across the company. Digital auditing systems monitored customer complaints and response times. Transparency reports were published quarterly. For the first time, the organization could measure patterns instead of relying on assumptions. Thousands of employees completed training programs. Hundreds of locations underwent operational reviews. The goal was simple: prevent future incidents before they occurred. Reporters frequently asked Alicia whether she felt satisfied. Her answer never changed. "This was never about winning an argument," she said. "It was about improving a system." That distinction became the foundation of everything that followed. 6 months later, Alicia returned to the same Chicago flagship store. The atmosphere felt different. Employees greeted customers warmly. Verification procedures were consistent. Staff members appeared more confident because expectations were clearer. Most importantly, nobody recognized Alicia. She preferred it that way. Walking through the building, she paused briefly outside the VIP lounge where everything had started. The memory remained vivid. The accusations, the cameras, the humiliation, the silence. Yet what stayed with her most was not the pain. It was the lesson. Too often, people decide who belongs before they learn who someone is. Too often, assumptions speak louder than facts. Stories like this become part of the black stories, life stories, touching stories, and real-life stories that continue to resonate because they reveal something uncomfortable about society. But they also reveal something hopeful. Systems can change. People can learn. Accountability can lead to progress. Before leaving, Alicia glanced back one final time and smiled. Not because she had proven her status, not because she had revealed her influence, but because the next person walking through those doors might never experience what she did. And if this story moved you, share it. Leave a comment about a moment when you witnessed unfair treatment. And subscribe for more Black stories, life stories, touching stories, and real life stories that remind us why dignity, fairness, and courage still matter.